Welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I'm your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And we got some big news. We've all been wondering what Yang's big announcement is. We got a picture he teased of what his announcement is. And it looks like the Yang campaign and the project they've been working on was accidentally released a day early. And the website actually went live when it wasn't supposed to. And a couple people started passing around and taking some screenshots and talking with their friends before they realized, oh, wait, we got to take it down. But we now have a sneak peek. I wouldn't want to use the word leak, but we can definitely opine on what we've seen, what Andrew Yang's big announcement is. And we thought it was going to be a super PAC, and we actually weren't very far off. Technically, a 501c4 is... It is
spoilers. It's exactly what you thought it was.
It's exactly what we thought it is. Yeah, it's technically a tax code delineation, makes it a charitable organization.
Which is whatever you at home you were thinking it was going to be. It was the thing. So.
Yeah. So instead of being a super PAC, it's technically a social welfare organization, which is allowed to have action politically. But anyway, we can get into these details later. Cody, tell us what's going on.
Oh, shoot. Okay, yeah. So we'll get into it. So we can go through. Andrew Yang started teasing a couple days ago. The campaign's been murmuring this for a while, an idea of an announcement coming early in March. That became to an announcement Thursday on The View. And just, I believe it was yesterday, Andrew Yang posted this picture of him kind of teasing at what it possibly be. So we had been, as you said, speculating, probably some kind of PAC to support UBI candidates so he can really make a good case for himself when next time he runs as, hey, I have a lot of people supporting UBI. Well, one of our friends over on Twitter, Wesley, actually sent me over this video. It took a little screen grab of the site that went live. So here we go. This is the site that went live earlier this morning. I don't have the exact time of when it went live. Believe early, like 7 a.m., I want to say, around then. 7 a.m. Pacific, maybe earlier Eastern. I could be wrong, but I want to say it was around then. And what's really... Like I said, it's exactly what we thought it was. So we'll go through here and we'll take a look at some of this stuff. So it's the same photo we used. I have reason to believe this is indeed the video the website that's going on. So we'll go through this video and it's going to scroll through and take a look at the stuff. So it says, we are building the movement to rewrite the rules to work for us. The people, it's time for a human-centered America. Then they have actually a little campaign shot right there with the longer than, I'm going to pause it right here, the longer than long shot video. I believe it was actually you can see him campaigning. But it's a campaign video for here because that is really key as well. I want to highlight, we'll go through this, but Andrew Yang has been talking a lot about, I believe he's still paying a lot of his staff. There is still very much this Yang 2020 official movement. So we'll go through the longer thing. They go, introducing humanity forward. We are in the midst of the greatest economic transformation in the history of our country. Our institutions are years behind the curve, and normal people are getting left behind. We can't wait until the next election to push for the 21st century solutions we need. Introducing a new, as you brought up, 501c4 nonprofit organization dedicated to continuing the movement inspired by Andrew Yang's 2020 presidential campaign and making its core ideas a reality. Including universal basic income, human-centered capitalism, and data as a property right. And this is one thing I'm going to say right now, what I love. We said this the whole time. When Andrew Yang, and I do believe, I think this summer, I want to do a longer post-mortem. We'll take a look back at the Yang campaign, but I do believe one of the big issues he had, and as someone who's been following his campaign, reading his policies the whole way through, when he said his three pillars would be UBI, I hear it, human-centered capitalism, I hear it, and Medicare for all. It's like, dude, you never talk about Medicare for all, and you don't even you don't actually believe in the Bernie Sanders Medicare for all. It's like, why bring that up as the pillar of your? It never actually was. He would just kind of say people should have healthcare, move on. It never was. So I'm really glad to see now here you notice that language is removed. Human-centered capitalism, and then we go data as. If he ran his campaign on those three things, I'm not saying he would have won, but I do think that would have been a more effective ally for him. Not to just pretend, I also support Medicare for all, sorta. Instead of just saying, look, that's something important, but also I'm running on UBI, human-centered capitalism, and data as a property right. Dude, everybody has a phone. Everybody knows what it's like to have their data. Everyone's got a Facebook account. Everybody somehow has gotten themselves, and by the way, you're almost in a way fortunate if you're not connected into the social media accounts. You have some kind of smart device being here's the thing now. It's like, you think of smartphones. It's like smartphones, you literally can get a smartphone that runs for $35 and it'll work.
Yeah.
It's not an iPhone, but it'll work and you'll use it for a year or two and it'll do all the stuff the phones do for $35. I mean, go online, all this stuff. So I like seeing him bring that up. So I want to go through a little bit more and we'll get more into commentary. And then one other thing I wanted to bring up here too, about it being a 501c4, I believe what's really interesting about that, it is a little bit of Andrew Yang and Zach Grumman as well, I believe. I think he also runs is it a 501c4? I believe he also runs a nonprofit himself. or he came from that industry. I'm not 100% sure.
Well,
Check on that.
he himself says he came from Wall Street.
But I believe he also had a nonprofit he ran. But Yang definitely ran a nonprofit. I just think interesting seeing him fall back on something he's had success before and done. He's the guy. Okay, I'll do something like Venture for. It's almost kind of like the marriage, right? It's like, okay, Venture for America did this. My campaign did this. What would the two be? So anyway, while you're pulling it up, let's pull through the rest of this. Goes on to say that our movement is only just beginning. None of us can do this alone. And it will take all of us working together to bring the wave crashing down on Washington and rewrite the rules of our economy and society to work for us. A better world is still possible. Now is the time to move humanity forward. Come fight with us. It really does sound like the campaign literature, and they just swapped out Medicare for all for data as a property right. And I love it. I guess I love that. So very, very, very interesting. And I think there's a few more things down here I want to get to. Oh, yeah. One more thing is what we do. So very cool picture of Andrew Yang and Evelyn. Oh, by the way, hold on. A little, if this is the site that go live, I definitely recognize a lot of faces in this crowd. It's very cool. I think it's really cool seeing just how he's always leaned on the Yang Gang, even now coming up into his, I guess you could say second career. But here we go. So going down to the next part, it says, what we do, they're going to activate new voters and the politically disengaged, particularly young people and the economically marginalized. By the way, this is what Bernie Sanders promised the DNC and didn't deliver, and it's why he got walloped yesterday. Endorse and provide resources to political candidates and who embrace universal basic income and other aligned policies at every level. Mainstream the ideas of the movement through podcasts, traditional media, and high-impact events. Empower Americans to retake control of their data and get compensated for its use by big tech companies. That means so much more to me than some phony, half-hearted, and I believe Medicare for all, by the way, which is what used to be the third pillar of his campaign. And then launch and support projects and pilots that demonstrate the power and practicality of our ideas in real life. Dude, you know me. You asked me if I could talk about one thing in the world, anything, it'd be
consumer protection.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So the idea of just setting up some protections. I mean, there's ridiculous stuff. I don't want to give it to, but I don't know if anyone recently updated their iOS in the last 6 months or so to the newest one. It does a new thing it didn't used to do. It'll tell me, hey, we're just letting you know this app has been tracking your location all around these different points in the background.
Yeah.
Do you want it to keep doing it? And sometimes I understand why, but I have a 7-Eleven app to get cheap coffee, and they showed me it's like the 7-Eleven app follows you every step you take. Now they do that for targeted advertising, but how many years?
They can also sell that information and say, look, we have this person and he consistently buys this brand of coffee, but it also shows that at lunchtime he oftentimes frequents McDonald's and Panda Express. So maybe if we can sell his information to Panda Express and McDonald's, we'll be able to, create these lists. And some of these informational lists go for like $2.50 a person.
Sometimes it's this. You don't realize it, but maybe you mostly stop for gas at a certain gas station like Tuesday or Wednesday. It just happens to be the day in your week when you do it. You might not really realize it, but your phone does. And your phone knows to give you advertisements for the gas station when you get gas on those days. So anyway, I just think that's been going on for so many years without any knowledge of us. And now we're just getting a little bit of glimpses. I mean, there was the Snowden leaks about almost a decade ago now with the Snowden stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Correctly exact here. Anyway, you have all that going on. Anyway, I don't want to get too lost in it, but I do believe that's basically the end of what he's putting on his website. Yeah, and then the bottom is just a picture of Andrew Yang. Oh, and then we'll check out the Yang bio. About Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang ran for president as the vision of building a human-centered economy and implementing a universal basic income of $1,000 a month for all Americans. Andrew's clear diagnosis of the problems and face our country and real vision for how to solve them inspired a nationwide movement to rewrite the rules of the economy and society to work for us, the people. With humanity forward, Andrew will work to grow this movement. Very cool. Also, I'll pull up the numbers in a second here for you guys. I believe locally it was, I hope I'm not butchering the name, but David Kim was running locally out here on UBI. Yeah. I believe he made it to the next ballot. Because he got the top two finish in the primary.
In the jungle primary.
And I think there's a few other. I want to check and look at all of them. But there's already people having success on the UBI kind of caucus movement already. Having Andrew Yang kind of emerge as this lightning rod for fundraising and kind of national support that other local candidates can't get on their own. I kind of brought it up before. It's basically the organic version of what Bloomberg tried to do.
Well, a much smarter version. I shouldn't say smarter because that's disparaging, and I don't want to disparage the Green Party.
Like a more gradual kind of organic.
But the Green Party is kind of this way. The Green Party really is kind of anti-corporatist, anti-big business for the small man, okay, without being, violently Antifa. They're very idealistic, but they don't allow corporate donations, which kind of unfortunately hamstrings them because how do you compete with other bigger candidates from the Democrat and the Republican Party if you're disallowing yourself to receive corporate donations or super PAC money? So if you had your own super PAC that all of the other Green Party members nationwide could donate to, and the party were a lot better at being able to like self-fund through small donations because they had a much more organized financial body like this 501c4 or maybe a PAC or something like that, then the Green Party would do a lot better. So the UBI movement could just be another good idea that gets relegated to the dustbin of history, unless somebody came along, just like Andrew Yang, who says, no, this won't get relegated for another 50 years to the dustbin of history. We're going to start a group that pilots programs, that extracts data from these programs just to show that they can work, that supports candidates who are going to support versions of our ideals. And we're actually going to take this seriously and do this. I got a lot of respect for that. And it doesn't take a lot of organization in this world of chaos to bring something formidable to the table that society will recognize. Ooh, I want that. We're going to try that. So I think this was a great move. And what's interesting is Andrew Yang can already fund it. He didn't exhaust all of his campaign funds. He suspended his campaign. There's still millions in those coffers.
Maybe.
And yeah, not a ton. It's not like he's sitting on a nest egg at 10 million.
Maybe I'm just saying, it's possible the numbers were worse than we thought in the background, which also kind of brought the suspension to the forefront.
That's true, but I would estimate, I'll tell you this right now, I guarantee you there's 7 figures inside of that bank account. And the Andrew Yang campaign, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the chat, but I believe this is still the FEC election law. That, once you suspend your campaign, any additional finances, you don't just get to keep personally because it's the campaign's money, not yours, can either be disbursed back to the donors if you have a way of doing that.
Well, you got to run for another office, so you don't have to give the money back, basically.
Or it can be transferred into another campaign fund, which is why, oftentimes people will run for the presidency so they can get a bunch of PAC money, and then when they don't get as much as they want, they divert the funds into their
Kamala
Senate
Harris?
run.
Is that you're talking about Kamala Harris?
Yeah, like Kamala Harris. So anyway, it can be disbursed back to the people. It can be transferred into another FEC campaign run, or it can be donated to a charity of the campaign's choice. Well, guess what a 501c4 is? The 501 delegation, 501c3 and 501c4 are actually charitable organizations. The only difference between a 501c3 and a 501c4 is that a 501c3, which Venture for America was, your donations to a 501c3 are tax deductible. Okay, usually churches are 501c3s, religious organizations, charities such as the food pantry or those homeless missions and things. Those are usually 501c3 social welfare organizations that have such a dedicated mission statement and organization that the government actually says, you know what, you can take these donations off your taxes. 501c4s aren't required to have such a strong delineation for charity and are allowed to participate politically. Okay, 49% or less of their activity is allowed to be political. Okay, 51% of their activity actually has to be the social welfare that they claim to be wanting to achieve. But they are allowed to engage politically and have billboards and signs and slogans and posters. Meanwhile, 501c3s are not allowed to. You'll notice that churches can have voter registration events, and they can have election night watch parties, and they can do stuff like that, but they cannot endorse. Like the Catholic Church cannot come out and say Joe Biden for president. Okay, because that's against the 501c3 tax code. So anyway, this is a great move, making it a 501c4. It's going to be a social welfare organization. They can dump all the money from Yang 2020 into the 501c4 just to get things going and start supporting candidates that support UBI. And before you know it, what's he going to become, Cody? He is the new party boss for this small group that's going to start existing. He's the new gatekeeper for the UBI crowd.
Similar to kind of how Bernie Sanders found himself in that spot where organically Medicare for All support rose, and he was the guy on top. He was the one who's been He could mean like anything in the world. Obviously, Andrew Yang can't claim he invented the concept, right? But he was like, I'm the politician who kind of popularized the most. So to that point, though, I want to bring up our friend Scott Santon's tweeted this out last night. So as I mentioned, yes, it was indeed David Kim who moving on to the November ballot, running on UBI out here in California. And then also it looks like a Liam O'Mara. I want to just double check on where exactly he is running again. Also in California, that's what I thought. The 42nd. So very cool. We see two people. Again, I do think, like many movements like this, California is probably the best bet to start. I don't think we're going to see the UBI movement start in Illinois.
Yeah.
No flame on Illinois. Just California seems to be where ideas start, right? But suddenly by the time they leave California, they're no longer goofy ideas, for better or for worse, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's things that it's like, wow, I wish that would have stayed in California. But
Yeah.
this doesn't look like one of those things, especially because we have people already. Andrew Yang based in New York. Scott Santon's based in, what is it? I don't know if he's based in, I think he's out of New Orleans. So I thought that was just really cool to see. We already have some people right now, and this isn't even counting. I want to, hopefully we'll start, if we get more time over the summer, just to reach out with people, sit down and speaking, because I can list off a whole list of other people I know that have been running on or plan to run on UBI. I've seen just on Twitter, former Yang Gang people. I mean, Andrew Yang, before we started his super PAC with the express reason for existing of promoting this stuff, before that, he had already inspired so many people to run on UBI. So now that he's going to be, and I've heard him described almost as like a potential UBI kingmaker. And if he really is this, like
That's
you
what
said,
I'm saying.
this
The
rising
new party
force,
boss.
it really could be a good thing for him. Again, that's 50 lines down thing. That's assuming that the leaked website we saw, or not the leak, but the unintentionally posted website we saw is real. Again, this is the same imaging, the same wording. If it isn't real, wow, somebody really put it well. But again,
Yeah,
this
the biggest
site
spoof of all
was
time.
live at humanityforward.com for a period of time. Like, it was actually a live site. This is not just a video that was sent. It's just the live site has now been pulled down. So that's what we have for now. If this is indeed what he's announcing tomorrow, I love it. I think it's so cool, and I can't wait to see a couple years of... Because one, I think something else too that's going to happen is we'll see what's happening with the rest of the primary. We'll see what happens in the general. There's definitely a large group of voters, and I think we saw it last night on Super Tuesday. The young, enthusiastic voter crowd didn't turn out for Bernie like he thought. Like that, there's still something. There's definitely a big voter base that's waiting for that one thing to really get them out there going. And if UBI is it, who knows? It's too early. But if it is, it's really the good place for Yang to be.
Well, yeah, and you talk about Super Tuesday with Bernie Sanders. What's interesting is really there's a reason why young voters are stereotyped as forgetful and not showing up and so on and so forth, because years and years and years and years and years of data keeps proving that the young crowd doesn't show up to vote. So unless you have something really interesting, you can't bank on the young crowd like you can the older crowd. Yang enjoyed a uniquely, really, 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 really interesting idea, and that's why his youth-fueled movement generally did a lot better per capita than Bernie Sanders did amongst the young crowd. It was only by sheer volume that Bernie Sanders was getting more delegates. But if we missed some analysis, please let us know in the comments below. During the live stream yesterday, we had tons of new people join the channel with a hat giveaway we had. So shout out to everybody that joined the channel yesterday. If you haven't had a chance yet to join, or you weren't able to participate in the live stream yesterday, make sure you smash that join button. It's only like $5 a month or something like that. And it's a way to keep us corporate sponsor free and keep giving you these videos. Also make sure you follow us on PSP Radio 1 on Twitter. Cody is always,
One last thing before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Joe Biden literally just won Maine. So good for Joe.
Oh, okay. Wow. Right there in real time. You saw it here first on Problem Solver Politics. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video. Wu-Tang!